Let me take you back to a time when the internet was still in its infancy and tech giants like Google were just getting started. In 1998, to Stanford PhD students Larry Page and Sergey Brin had a vision to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. The result of that vision was a search engine they named Google. Today, Google is more than just a search engine. It's a cornerstone of the internet, a gateway to information, and a company that has shaped the digital landscape like no other. But in 1999, Google wasn't the tech titan we know today. It was a young startup with potential, but not much to show for it yet. Larry and Sergey had built a search engine that was revolutionary, using algorithms that ranked web pages based on how many other pages linked to them, something that no other search engine at the time was doing. But there was a problem. Running a search engine costs money. Google needed financial backing to keep growing, and that's where Excite comes into the story. For those who may not remember, Excite was one of the most popular search engines in the 90s. If you were online back then, there's a good chance you used it to find your way around the web. It was a big player, part of a crowded field of search engines like Yahoo, AltaVista, and Lycos. Back in the late 90s, search engines were considered a must-have feature for internet portals, websites that acted as entry points to the internet by providing email, news, chat rooms, and, of course, search. Excite was one of these portals, and at the time, it was valued at over $1 billion. George Bell, CEO of Excite, he was leading the company through the internet's first boom, navigating a world where everything about the web seemed to be moving at lightning speed. Bell and his team knew the importance of having a good search engine. After all, search engines were the backbone of user experience. People wanted to find things on the internet, and they wanted to find them fast. Excite was already in the search game, but like many companies, they were looking for ways to improve. In 1999, Bell had an opportunity that, looking back now, seems almost too crazy to believe. Larry Page and Sergey Brin offered to sell Google to Excite for just $1 million. Yes, $1 million. After some negotiation, they even brought the price down to $750,000, but here's the kicker: Bell turned them down. That's right, Excite had the chance to own Google, which today is valued at a staggering $2 trillion USD in 2024, for the cost of what would now seem like pocket change. So, what was Bell thinking? Why didn't Excite take the deal? To understand that, we need to dive into the details of what was going on in the tech world at the time. At the turn of the millennium, search engines weren't seen as the gold mines they are today. The real money was believed to be in portals, places where people could check their email, read the news, and find other internet services, all on one website. Search was just one part of the equation, not the main focus. And from Bell's perspective, Google wasn't offering anything that would radically change Excite's trajectory. It was just another search engine, right? Well, not exactly. Google's PageRank algorithm was light years ahead of what Excite and its competitors were using. Excite's search engine was based on keywords, meaning it would rank results based on how often a keyword appeared on a page. It didn't really consider how trustworthy or relevant a page was to what the user was looking for. Google's algorithm, on the other hand, used backlinks, links from one website to another, as a way to measure a page's credibility. It was a completely different approach, and it meant Google's search results were far more accurate and useful than what anyone else was offering. But despite this technical advantage, Bell wasn't sold. There are several theories as to why. One of the most popular is that Bell and the Excite team simply didn't see the value in improving search. They believed they already had a good enough product and that investing in Google wouldn't move the needle enough for Excite's business model. Plus, the internet landscape back then was moving so fast that it was hard to predict what would actually take off and what would fade into obscurity. Another reason might have been Larry and Sergey themselves. According to reports, part of the deal hinged on Bell agreeing to let the Google founders stay on and continue to run the search engine under Excite's banner. This would have meant Excite essentially buying Google's technology and taking on Page and Brin's vision for how search should work. Bell, however, wasn't interested in ceding that much control to two young entrepreneurs, especially when he wasn't fully convinced of the value they were bringing to the table. So, Excite passed on the deal, and the rest, as they say, is history. Google continued to grow, rapidly improving its search technology and expanding into new areas like email with Gmail, mapping with Google Maps, and eventually mobile with the Android operating system. By the time Excite realized what they had missed, it was too late. Google had not only become the dominant search engine, but it was also reshaping the entire tech industry. Meanwhile, Excite struggled to keep up with the evolving internet landscape. By the early 2000s, Excite had faded into irrelevance. It was eventually sold to Ask Jeeves, another search engine that has since disappeared from the limelight. In contrast, Google went public in 2004 with an IPO that valued the company at $23 billion. Today, as of 2024, Google's parent company, Alphabet, is worth $2 trillion, making it one of the most valuable companies in the world. George Bell's decision to pass on buying Google for $750,000 is now one of the most infamous business blunders in tech history. It's a story that's often told as a cautionary tale about underestimating the potential of disruptive technology. But in Bell's defense, it's easy to look back with hindsight and say he made the wrong call. At the time, no one knew just how big search would become or how integral it would be to the internet's future. The world was a different place in 1999, and the tech landscape was still very much a Wild West, full of uncertainty and rapid change. In the end, Excite's loss was Google's gain. And what started as a humble search engine has grown into a global powerhouse, shaping not only how we search for information, but how we live our digital lives. As for George Bell, well, he's forever linked to one of the biggest what-if moments in tech history. What if Excite had bought Google? Would we still be Googling things today, or would Excite have found a way to fumble even the internet's most valuable property? One thing is for sure, Bell's decision not to buy Google will go down in history as one of the most expensive mistakes ever made in Silicon Valley.